Today, we're talking about the patch notes for patch 5.24, the Wielder of Excalibur patch, and it's the release patch of King Arthur. I am really excited for this patch because King Arthur is absolutely crazy. I'm definitely looking forward to this god a lot, and we'll talk about it. You'll see why. If you've already seen the live patch notes, then we'll look a little bit more into the numbers as well and see how that all works out as far as they're available so far. This patch also comes with a few other balance adjustments, which are pretty interesting and pretty cool actually, and also quite a few new skins. The skins aren't shown really yet, only the card art, and those will be later in the week by Hi-Rez, but I will make sure to post them earlier. Probably gonna make a video on that tomorrow. But let's talk about King Arthur first, and let's also give a shout out to Hi-Rez for actually putting the patch notes up really quickly for once, so we can make the review right after the live patch notes, so to speak. So, our new god is King Arthur, and King Arthur has so much going on. We'll look at the passive first before even looking at the abilities at all, because this is crazy. So King Arthur is a stance swapping god, meaning he has more abilities than other gods already, but he also has a lot of other things. Steadfast. Each time King Arthur's abilities damage a god, he gains a stack of Steadfast, reducing damage he takes and increasing the rate at which he builds energy. This additionally, okay, I guess that's a typo there. Additionally, King Arthur does not benefit from attack speed. Bonus attack speed instead increases the rate at which he builds energy. So, two parts to the passive already here, and it doesn't actually mention the stance swapping, I suppose, but it has everything else, so we'll understand it. So, with each stack, you gain 1.5% damage mitigation, and you also have 25% increased bonus energy gain. So this lasts for 15 seconds, apparently, which is really long, surprisingly long. So you can basically combo between waves. As long as you hit an enemy once between waves, you can keep this up. But it also has only 4 maximum stacks. So you have a total of 6% mitigation maximum, which is not too much, not too insane. But you have plus 100% energy gain. Now the thing is, it doesn't actually explain energy yet. So energy is not what you're using to use your abilities. You still have normal mana, even though the mana costs of this god are relatively low. But instead, energy is kind of like Hi-Rez describes it as a combo meter. If you have no energy, you cannot use your ultimate at all. If you have 30 energies or more, which happens after hitting an enemy with a few abilities, so basically kind of like Kukulkan builds Rage in a way, but on a passive meter instead, you can use the normal version of your ult. If you have, I think, 80% or more, then you can use an amplified version or different version of the ultimate. So it's 2 different abilities in the ult depending on your energy level. And this energy level obviously chains up with hitting enemies, primarily with abilities. I am assuming also with basic attacks. So the more enemies you hit, the more energy you would build, I suppose, as well. I think that's the same as with like Kukulkan, for example. But you can also build this up on a single target, especially through this passive bonus. If you hit 4 abilities on the target, then you have 100% energy increase for everything you hit afterwards. The other thing is the attack speed. So he does not get extra attack speed, which is due to his unique basic attacks where he kind of swings forward and he actually has an auto lock onto the target to some degree. He can like leap forward a little bit in a basic attack without using an ability to close the distance to an enemy when they're in range of that. And in order to not make that OP and just constantly have him like smack down on enemies and stick to them, he doesn't scale up with attack speed, but instead gets more energy. There's a 33% conversion, which is kind of hard to say what that really means. We don't really know how much the energy gain is yet. So 33% may be good, may not be that good. I think it's probably laid out in a way where going into too much attack speed is not advisable, because at the end of the day, the whole combo system only really benefits his ultimate and not his other abilities. So you're sacrificing a lot in order to just get your better ult quicker, and I don't think that's worth it over just having more damage, for example. And that brings us to Ability 1, Version 1, and Version 2. Standard version, King Arthur deals overhead slash or hamstring. Standard version, which is overhead slash, I'm assuming, King Arthur deals a devastating overhand blow in melee range that creates a slashing attack that travels forward. Enemies hit in melee range take 50% increased damage. So we'll look at the damage for that first, and that is 60 to 280 plus 60% scaling. I'm already concerned looking just at that damage and that scaling on the single ability here, knowing that it also has a low mana cost. We'll see. So that is just one part, and the damage is increased by 50% of this part if you're in melee range, which is actually not that hard for King Arthur to get into. He has multiple abilities that have some sort of mobility, plus his basic attacks have the mobility. So I don't think that will be too hard. And then the other part, combo. King Arthur swipes low, crippling and damaging enemies that are struck. Combo damage, also 60 starting, but then scaling up to 300, plus 60% of your physical power again. So between those two abilities, you have 120% scaling already. Cripple duration, 1.25 seconds. Energy gain, 3 each, I suppose. Cooldown, 14 seconds. Mana cost start from 35, again, very, very low, up to 55 mana. I think the cooldown is not even super short. It's not the longest for sure, but it's not super short. Energy gain is also not insane here, it seems. But then again, you have to keep in mind that it doubles once you're at that higher passive, basically. So it'll be 6 each and it'll 12 energy gain very, very quickly. And one of them is a ranged poke as well. And both can be used for clear and away, I suppose. And then you also have to keep in mind that the 50% damage increase on the one actually results in a total of 420 damage from the one in close range. You have to hit that though, and you're slowed down during this attack. You cannot, like, basically as if you, not like normally when you use an ability, you lose your movement penalty, but instead you kind of get a movement penalty. So you have to be able to hit that. It has a bit of range though. It's not just the closest melee range. That's just the one. Let's just move on to the two and then we'll talk about them all combined, because he is a combo god after all. The second ability is Battle Stomp or Uppercut. Standard, so Battle Stomp. King Arthur stomps on the ground with heavy force, causing enemies around him to take damage and become slowed. Stomp damage 40 to 140 with 40% scaling. So damage-wise, not absurd or anything. Little bit of scaling here, but not crazy. Slow scales up as well from 20 to 40%. Slow duration 2.5 seconds. That is actually surprisingly long. I thought the slow would be shorter, considering he has a lot of ways of sticking to the enemy. We'll see. And then the other ability. That's the Uppercut. Combo. King Arthur charges forward, stopping on the first guard hit. At the end of the charge, King Arthur unleashes an uppercut, knocking up enemies into the air. Uppercut damage 50 to 230. So not as high as the one, but a decent amount of damage still. And again, only 40% scaling. Energy gain 4, so a little bit more here. 16 in total with a full passive. Cooldown also 14 seconds. Mana cost also starting low at 40 and going up to 60. A slow for 2.5 seconds and a knock-up in this ability. The knock-up is relatively short, that's worth pointing out, but it's also long enough for, say, for example, a Village Bowl, so it's not super short. I'm already scared. I'm laughing, but I'm scared. I'm going to play him, so I'm not too scared, but yeah. The slow here with 40% is also a pretty good slow. It's not bad at all. And yeah, you have to be kind of close for the Battle Stomp, I think. Whereas the combo one is the one that you were more likely to use. I think what you want to do here is really go into the combo stance first through another ability and then use the combo one to knock someone up, and then afterwards when they come down you can hit them with this again to slow them, and you're back in the combo stance afterwards. And you have a little bit of damage here and there as well. Combined damage is already scary. I'm just saying, like, it's. I would have thought with how often he can come on, how low the mana costs are, it would be less. And now for the real deal, Twin Cleave and Blade Storm. Blade Storm is exactly what it sounds like, by the way. It looks like it's straight off World of Warcraft. Twin Cleave, standard. King Arthur unleashes 2 cleave attacks while charging forward. Enemies hit by a cleave take damage and have their protections reduced. Cleave damage 35 to 135. That's actually not too high. I think it's not normally the case that you hit someone with both cleaves. From what it looked like, I think you normally just hit one. Though I'm not entirely sure what would happen if an enemy like dashes or something or runs into it. Plus 30% physical power scaling. not too much either. And then 7% protection shred. That's just applied. This is apparently often used as a gap closer because, yeah, it just covers a lot of distance. And looking at it, to be honest, I can see why. It's just not the highest damage thing. You want to kind of hit them with the last part of the cleave if possible, just to get that protection shred applied for everything else. It's interesting that the choice went for a percentage one here as well, which means, you know, he can go into more tanky items with less punishment. And then we have the combo. King Arthur swings Excalibur around him, charging forward and damaging enemies 5 times before windling up a final strike that deals more damage. King Arthur is immune to knockup. What? For the knockup for the duration. Okay, I didn't know that part yet. Spin damage 10 to 90 plus 15% of your physical power. And this is 5 times. So 450 total if you hit someone with the entire spin. And, well, 5 times 50, so 75% scaling as well. Not that much immediate damage compared to the 1 especially, but a lot of damage, you know, if you hit all of it consistently. It's kind of, you have to learn how to control it. It's a bit like maybe Guan Yu ult or Vamana Dash, where you can control the direction a bit bit better than those abilities. But you can also slow down by pressing back, like whichever button back is for you. And it makes for an interesting ability overall so far, I would say. You know, it's just like a little whirlwind. But now the crazy part is the final damage of the ability that comes at the end. Starts very low at 30 base damage, but scales up to 230. And this is just a singular swing with 15% of your physical power scaling. 230 just on top of the 400, what do we say? 450 that you already have beforehand. So a total of 680 damage on this ability. 90% scaling. So base damage wise, this is like super good early. Obviously, minions can't avoid this, so even if you're not using it for pressure, you can use it for clear. Energy gain, it says 1 here. I'm not sure if that's like 1 per tick or 1 in total. I'm assuming it's per tick, in which case it would actually be quite a lot overall still. Cooldown, not much longer, 16 seconds. Mana cost also just gone up from 40 to 60. That's a whole lot of damage and a whole lot of mobility and a whole lot of CC. I really want to see how this feels like in the game, but on paper, it sounds very scary. I think the fact that he's like a bit like of this like slightly like in a way, not really clunky, but like delayed combo design kind of helps that it's maybe not quite as crazy, but it's still scary. Like even disrupting him just seems like a temporary fix until he uses the next ability. And now we get to the Sundering Strike / Excalibur's Wrath. Sundering Strike is possible at 35 energy. Sorry, I think I said 35 energy. King Arthur winds up a massive jab, charging forward slightly before striking. Enemies hit by the jab are stunned. So this is a quick stun with damage. The jab does 100 to 340 damage plus 65% scaling. Stun duration 1 second. So that's very short. That's just more of a disrupt, a quick finisher if you don't have enough energy for the other ult and you have kill potential that way. Yeah, but not absurd, not insane. But then we have the other part. 80 energy. King Arthur charges forward with Excalibur drawn. If King Arthur hits an enemy, he launches them into the air and unleashes a barrage of 6 attacks, after which he launches them back to the ground, dealing damage to the target and any enemy below. So this is AoE as well. By the way, same as his basic attacks. Basic attacks are also AoE. Damage per hit, 10 scaling up to 50. Plus 10% of your physical power and 1.5% of the target's maximum health. And it was said that this is true damage. I'm not sure if it was actually meant as true damage, or if that was just misspoken and it's just meant to be percentage damage. Because depending on that, if it's true damage, it's not affected by penetration. Or defense rather. And if it's percentage damage only, then it is affected by any sort of mitigation. I'm assuming it's percentage damage because it doesn't say true damage here, and I'm just Just gonna hope it's that. So you have 6 hits, which means a total of 60% physical power, a total of 300 base damage, and also we got here 9% of your target's maximum health. Okay, but that's not all, because the landing damage will also happen. You can beat this ability, by the way, and interrupt it early that way and stop the damage hits from landing, but you cannot stop the landing damage. Even, like, it's like a Najal, you go up a little bit, but then if you beats it, you fall down, but he will still smack down and hit you with that. So you can't avoid that damage. Maybe if you pop Aegis immediately afterwards, but it doesn't seem like it. And then you get the landing damage, which starts at 60 and goes up to 360. On top of what we already have, on top of the 300, so 660. So I think it's 3 actually deals more damage overall. But it also has 50% of your physical power scaling, so a total of 110% scaling. And it also has scaling up from 5 to 13% of your target's maximum health. Okay, so a total of 21% of your target's maximum health. That can't be true damage. That must be like normal damage, just percentage damage, because that would be insane otherwise. Yeah, so even if you interrupt all that, you still get a 360 damage, 50% scaling, and 13% of your maximum health as damage before any sort of mitigation. 20-second cooldown. 20-second cooldown. I heard that and I thought I must have misunderstood that. Apparently has a 20-second cooldown. So he just combos you in lane, slaps you, and then does it again. What? Wait, what? Hold up. I just gotta process this because I'm not... He can deal 360 damage with 110% scaling and 21% of your target's maximum health every 20 seconds. And if you don't get that off, you still have the jab that you can use if you don't get enough. Okay, I think what restricts is more than the cooldown is probably the energy. You're probably not going to build that much energy that quickly. I guess at the end, hopefully, probably, the cooldown won't even matter that much because the energy building is what we're focusing on. What I'm not quite sure here with the energy building is that no, it doesn't really explain the energy building entirely, because it says if he hits a guard, he gets steadfast to increase the rate at which he builds energy, but it doesn't say if he builds energy from hitting minions as well. And we didn't see that in the showcase. We only saw him building energy from Odin there because there were no minions. So if he builds energy from minions, that could be scary. That could be like, you know, think of it like, I don't know, like solo jungle anywhere. You can just get ready and get that ultimate going beforehand, and even afterwards, like if you stack your energy fully before you gank, you have 100 energy, meaning you can, if you use the ult early enough in the fight and not to finish someone off, then you can keep going and you just need to restore 15 energy to get more damage off. I'm gonna lean out of the window here and say that he's probably gonna be very strong. I'm also gonna say that he's probably gonna be very fun. Even if he was like, I think this is the type of god I would still play if he was like not strong, because he just seems so cool. I think Blackthorn Hammer is gonna be an item that you should keep an eye out for with this guy, because yeah, Blackthorn Hammer, you know, does things. Maybe even Runeforge, but I'm not sure about that. I have to look. I don't think it affects knockups anymore, so yeah. But yeah, Blackthorn, because mana regeneration means you can spam more and cooldown reduction, and it has health, making more tanky because you have built-in mitigation and it also has more power. And you have built-in protection shred. So yeah. I'm seeing a Warrior Tabi or Reinforced into Gladiator Shield into Blackthorn Hammer. In jungle maybe, not solo. Alright, yeah. You know, that's King Arthur so far. Let's see how it feels like later today, hopefully on PTS or tomorrow. New god skins. Let's look at that. We have a lot. We have Cosmic Conqueror Hercules, another one of those cosmic skins, this time Hercules. It kind of fits, I guess. I'm just not a fan of the cosmic skins overall, so for those who like it, it's nice. Cerberus Brimstone, a more magma underworld Cerberus skin. I gotta be honest, I feel like all Cerberus skins just feel like recolors with a little bit of anything added to it, except for the one, I was gonna say fluff, but then except for the one that is actually the dog, which is a lot of the pupper, which is very fluffy. I think that's the only one that stands out to me. I'm not sure how this one can separate from the rest, but let's look at it on PTS and see if the abilities are maybe what makes it stand out. Then we have Medusa Glacial Gaze. This one looks fantastic. I mean, honestly, Medusa's got a lot of good skins. Again, discussion of if you really need another one. But an issue with a lot of Medusa skin is that they look kind of similar. You can't really tell many of them apart that much. This one you can. He's got the wings. It's got the whole head thing going on. It's got the different bow. It's got the different tail. So I think this one is really cool. There's a really cool style to it. So I like that. Then we have Discordia Dragon Keeper. And this one, whoever came up with this is such a cool idea. So you have this like cutesy orb thing next to her. And she's like this I don't know, medieval style girly princess look, whatever. But instead of having her wings, she's got this baby dragon on her back who's like holding onto her and has the wings. So when she moves around, this is basically the dragon flying for her, from what I can tell, from what we can briefly see. And I think that's really cool. Like I'm really not a fan of cutesy skins normally, but I think this one I do like a lot. I just like how creative the idea behind it is. Then we have Athena Blight. I think it's Blight Guardian or something. We'll see in a sec. I like this one. I saw it earlier. I saw the style. I think the design is very cool, and she doesn't quite have this dark themed skin like this. At the same time, I think she's got enough edgy, cool, somewhat other skins for her not to need this one, really. Like, sorry, but why Athena? It's just a bit. I'm just waiting for that Honmat skin, man. Who could have gone with a skin like this as well? This could have easily been put another skin, another god, but I guess then again, most played gods, and Athena's one of them. King Arthur recolor, a bit more like not as flashy. I think that's cool. I think he looks a little bit derpy, even in game though. I don't know what it is about its recolor, but something's a bit off to me personally. But on the other hand, the golden skins, damn. That it's so fitting, like with his whole style and everything. Like I think I normally don't really use golden skins much or legendary skins. It's just like, yeah, you want to show off that you played a god a lot. Congratulations. Like I've got more rank 5 gods than I can count at this point. So it's not really much to that compared to like skins for gods normally. But with King Arthur, I think with this golden shiny armor, it's actually really cool. It's kind of cool with Bellona as well. Only that he's got these big shoulder pads that make it even cooler. I gotta say, I'm actually not the biggest fan of Arthur's design overall in terms of like how much he follows the lore or not, because he really doesn't follow the lore, and he follows the lore, but his kit doesn't do anything for the lore. He just does combos, and I think he looks very Chure-ish, generic, kind of with a generic voice pack. So not a big fan of the style overall, but I think in the golden version it just works. It just feels good. And with that, we'll quickly listen to the voice packs. So if you're on your headphones, make sure to turn them down a little bit, because sometimes these are loud.
I see all these small forms struggling for power and dominance. To what avail? I am here to show you true power.
I actually really like the voice vector they picked for that. I had nothing like, I didn't care for the skin, but the voice sounds really nice. I'm positively surprised right here. It has the effect, but like the way he's talking is still really cool. Brimstone Cerberus seems to not be in here yet. Same for Glacial Gaze Medusa.
Both my dragons have different personalities, but when it comes to food, they are one and the same.
Oh, it fits with the skin, right? I didn't even realize the other one was supposed to be a dragon as well. I like it. It's nice. It's just playful. Blood Guardian Athena also not in yet, so can we listen to King Arthur here?
I lead us to glory, to victory!
That's probably the same one. No, doesn't have one either. Okay, quite a few voice packs are missing. We will listen to those on PTS if they're there. Right, miscellaneous. New cosmetic items. Pendragon Ward Skin, Pendragon Recall Skin, Cosmic Fountain FX, Cosmic Jump Stamp, Brimstone Announcer Pack. Oh, it's Cerberus Announcer Packs then. And Draconic Loading Screen. So what will happen here, I don't know why it's not explained, but there will be an Arthurian event, which is actually not here. And that will be a bundle which includes 2 skins and 2, whatever, announcer packs, voice packs, no, not voice packs, announcer packs, the typical fluff, jump stamps, whatever. So I'm assuming with the Pendragon Ward skin, Pendragon Recall skin, this will probably be the Dragon Keeper Discardia, and then probably the Brimstone Cerberus, because there's a Brimstone announcer pack. So I'm assuming we have the Discardia, Dragon Keeper Discardia, and Brimstone Cerberus as a bundle for this patch. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen with the rest of the skins, but we will find out. If that's the bundle, I actually think that's a pretty nice one, depending on how much it costs, actually. And Fantasy Point Store gets new additions as well. Buy those, because... See, talking about a good Athena skin, this is Amazon Athena, which is actually a really, really, really nice skin. Because the fantasy points are going to run out when this season is over. Anything you didn't spend, if you haven't bought all those recolors yet, do it. If you haven't bought all the other skins that you can buy right now, do it. Because these are the last ones. After that, we are in 6.1, and every fantasy point you have is worthless. So, Amazon Athena, get that one. That's cool. Izurumir Ymir and Irzumir Ymir and Wormslayer Uller. Not my favorite skins, the other 2 here, but Amazon Athena. And then Awesome Chest also gets new additions: Riptide Poseidon, Sunny Chibi Amaterasu, Shadow Clobber Set, that's a nice one, and Warptech Janus. Bug fixes. So, with the holidays approaching, a lot of our team is taking some much needed time off to spend time with friends and family. We take an extra week on the 5.24 patch, which we plan to launch on January 7th. So this will not be come out like all too soon. It will be coming out on January 7th, but then on all platforms, as far as I understand it. And I think crossplay is coming in January as well. So that's in 6.1. So it's gonna be very hectic in January. And yeah, let's see. Since we are talking about taking this extra time, we're even early in the development process as usual with the patch, and many bugs are still being identified and evaluated. We'll list here the most important known issues that we're looking into for patch 5.24, as well as a few fixes that we already planned. This list will expand as we get closer to 5.24. And that is because they're probably looking for feedback for the UI yet and see if they can adjust that in the next patch. Understandably. I'm surprised they didn't address that at all today with the feedback they've gotten, but yeah. I think there's going to be a batch of changes that's coming in that context. And we have a few here. We have the PC players can now sort by guard class and the drop-down menu in the match lobby. That's really good. Missing that already. Edit a ban button for workaround. At the moment, you can type in the class name. You can like type in warrior, and then we'll show you all the warriors. Edit a ban button for PC players that they will need to click after selecting a guard to choose guards to ban in ranked and custom modes, and fix an issue where some practice queues weren't properly labeled as practice. Guards Freya, adjustment of text of passive to make it clear that mana is restored and health is healed. Top issues we are aware of and looking into fixing for 5.24. Muting issues on console, guard trading issues, party issues, lots of them, I'm already talking to Hiracy, and ranked wins. Wins are counted, we'll be running a backend script soon to fix. So if you have more issues, make sure to forward them to Hi-Res, post them on Reddit or whatever, to make sure they know them and they can address them over the holidays or whenever. But now, the guard balance. And the first one is big. I didn't realize how big it was until someone on Twitter pointed out to me what this does. So, essentially, they want to increase Arachne's team fight. Arachne's team fight is kind of and they want to up that. And the way they're doing that is kind of scary, because what they're doing is they're buffing Nightcrawler. Arachne now creates a 25-unit radius area of web that lasts for 5 seconds wherever she lands. Enemies in this area are slowed by 25%, and Arachne gains 40% movement speed and is immune to slows while on the web. Overlays webs from Nightcrawler and the third ability web do not stack in intensity. So what this means is, right, you drop down, you have an AoE circle with a slow. I'm not sure what happens if an enemy runs outside the circle. I'm assuming nothing. I'm assuming they just get out. 25 units is not super long, but it's also not super short, especially because it's a circle radius. I'm not quite sure how it compares to Bakasura ult, but it should be decent enough. Now, the interesting thing, why this is probably more impactful than it sounds, is because it really opens up opportunities for Runeforged Arachne. Because she can reliably, if Runeforged proc was slows, which I'm pretty sure it still does. I haven't used it in a while, I'm pretty sure it still does. Because you started using it before. So you use the 3, slow someone with that, you proc Runeforged consistently while they're on the web or while they're slowed at all, and then you also have the ult to do the same thing. And it makes you more survivable as well, which is super nice for Arachne. So, yeah. It's still kind of weird because you're sacrificing your escape. It's still kind of risky. Like, it really encourages Arachne to go into more bruiser builds overall. Not just with that item, but overall. You know, just throw a Void Stone there, throw a Stone Cutting Sword in there, throw an End Seal in there, and then the Runeforged and whatever else you want at that point, maybe Discord or something. Just make it tanky, get some shred going along with that, and let the dots and the webs and everything do the rest. And with that, Nightcrawler could work, because then you can aggressively go in to a degree where you can actually deploy this web and make it useful. If you go and Assassin Arachne, then you drop down from your ult and you get blown up because you don't have an escape or any other form of mobility outside of the webs, and it won't work for you. But I like it. I think it's going to make the ult more used, and that's cool. We'll see how easy it is to land and how long the delay on the web is. Hel. Hel's Switch Stance is a powerful ability providing a large amount of passive stats that she shares with her team. Especially level 5, we wanted to ensure placing a point into this ability is a powerful option on par with furthering one of her core abilities. Additionally, this will help Hel in both offensive and support-oriented playstyle without adding additional burst damage or healing that may be frustrating. So, Switch Stance, this whole set here. Increased Dark Stance power buff from 20 to 60 to 30 to 70, so a little bit of damage that way as well. Increased Dark Stance power aura from 10 to 30 to 15 to 35. Little bit. Increased light stance protection stealth buff from 5 to 25 to 13 to 25. So here the earlier stances are more impacted, which actually encourages leveling less, ironically, but hey. Increased light stance protection aura from 2.5 to 12.5 to 6.5 to 12.5. So also a lot more impactful here. Updated tooltips to correct blah, 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 blah. So that is interesting. Do I think this is going to make Hel top tier, insane, OP? Nope. Do I think this helps Hel and can gradually like ease her a little bit up in the meta without breaking her as she usually would, you know, through the heals or whatever? Yes. So good choice, good call. Right way to adjust Hel, and we'll have to see what happens next season anyways. Like, it's just one patch away, so it's hard to say how the impact will be in the long run. Susano's Typhon had a large cast time, making it easy to disrupt and forcing Susano players to refire the ability. This created situations where the ability felt clunky and limited Susano's ability to respond to crowd control. Removing the cast time of Typhons to help alleviate this issue and help his kit flow better between abilities. Now this is something that led to a lot of Susano players actually deploying the ult before the fight and then, you know, blinking in or using a 3 to get in and just have the ult go in the direction of the fight and have it charge up before it anyways. Obviously, that's still beneficial because it charges up in the back, but overall, you will generally be more able to just go with the ult in the fight without getting disrupted. So the pre-fire on this ability is adjusted so that Typhon starts deploying immediately upon fire and it's not interrupted in that sense anymore. So it will also charge fully sooner because it deploys right away. And that means it's a decent buff. Susano wasn't like a top tier, and I think an issue for Susano is often that just the early clear, early pressure of certain other guards is just pushing him out quite a lot. So, good change. Thor. I'm not even going to read this because it's actually a very simple thing. Thor has a range stun, and most other assassins do not. Naja actually has a range stun, but he gets in melee range afterwards. So what Tectonic Drift gets, or what Thor's range stun gets, is a mana decrease from 75 to 60 at all ranks. which is very nice because Thor sometimes felt a little bit mana hungry, and decreased cooldown from 17 seconds to 17 to 15 seconds. Especially with Thor in late game often being more of a CC guard, more of a setup guard than a full burst guard, I do think this is a good decision. This is an interesting choice to further that path. It could have also been adjusted the other way, that he gets more late game scaling, but I like this way. I'm going to see if it does much for him. I don't feel like it's going to make him crazy in any way, but it's a cool attempt to test out the waters for Thor. And that brings us to the big boy. This is the biggest change in this patch outside of King Arthur, even though Arachne is big. In this patch, we wanted to look at Xing Tian, a powerful god that has an issue with a few abilities that make him feel underwhelming. Furious Roar brings powerful anti-basic utility, but with a scaling duration, it was difficult to ever feel the strength in the laning phase. We have now made the damage duration a consistent 4 seconds and turned the damage and debuff to tuned the damage and debuff to make sense for this increased duration at early ranks. Whirlwind of Rage and Steel, that brings a lot to the fight, can suffer from feeling underwhelming. A Whirlwind of Rage and Steel should not stop damaging enemies just because they have cleansed themselves. Players still inside the radius of this ability while he is channeling will take damage. Additionally, Xing Tian will move faster while channeling, allowing him more opportunity to catch unsuspecting enemies and keep up with enemies stuck inside the whirlwind. Furious Roar. Increased duration from 1 second to up to 4 seconds to 4 seconds at all ranks. This is massive. Decreased percentage damage done from basic attacks from 30% to 50% to 20% to 50%. So at late game, this part will still feel exactly the same. But at the same time, in early game, the reduction is a little bit less. But it doesn't last 1 second, it lasts 4 seconds. And that is a way more impactful thing for clearing. Because if it's just 1 second, you wait out that 1 second and then you use your clear afterwards. Why would you not? But if it's 4 seconds, then sometimes you just don't have the opportunity to sit around for 4 seconds and your basics are reduced. When I say abilities, basics. It's one hit that's lowered versus roughly 4 hits that are lowered, depending on how much attack speed your god has. And that overall results in a lot more damage reduction coming from the enemy than the 10% on a single basic beforehand would make. And that is, something that also helps him if you want to play him in support, which is interesting. Xing has always been support solo, which one do you want to go for? Usually it ends up being solo. But this is something that is actually really nice for against early pressure especially. Decreased percentage damage per tick from 3% per second to 1 to up to 3% per second. So total damage difference is 3% to now 12%. Before 3% to 12% to now 4% to 12%. It's interesting because on the 4th rank it actually does less damage, but on the 1st rank it does more, and on the 3rd rank it also does less damage. So, more consistent damage, which I'm not complaining about. The damage difference is very tiny anyways. So I think good changes overall for Xing Tian here, very much good decisions. And then Whirlwind of Rage and Steel now deals damage to enemies in the race, even if they've cleansed the grab. We've talked about this, which also means, in addition with the other change, increased movement speed while channeling this ability by 25%, that even if you beat and you're out of the ult that way, he will be faster than you and he can swing down on you with the damage. He can't place you anywhere else, but he can deal damage to you. And the fact that he is sped up during his abilities probably means that he's sped up at the start of this ability as well. So when he starts channeling, he should have a much easier time getting to you during the channel and catching you in the ultimate. And that will matter. That will matter a lot. And I like these changes to Xing Tian. And I think that's what he needed. And I think that's good. And I'm happy with that. This patch really brings a lot of nice things. I mean, this patch will probably bring a few situations. We'll probably need some nerfs again as well. And I'm not quite sure. I would have liked some nerfs on the top end for some guys that are still performing very, very well. But overall, Smite's not in a state where most gods, at least, are super oppressive. So, yeah, I'm down with it. props to Hi-Rez for how they handled this patch overall, how they, well, with the exception of that weird late start of the patch stream, but like how quickly they got the patch notes out and what went into this. I'm actually very happy with this patch, even though we're gonna have to witness the craziness of King Arthur. But maybe he will already get changed before leaves PTS with a longer PTS phase. Fingers crossed. Hi-Rez, if you're watching this, consider getting out some nerfs if necessary before he hits live. You've done that with gods in the past. You haven't done much after like PTS releases lately, so maybe, you know, go back to that a little bit and see if he's maybe a bit too strong, a bit over the top, or maybe he's too weak. Who knows? We'll find out. But yeah, with that, thank you guys very much for watching. Maybe see you later for the next one. If we get King Arthur tonight, we can also do that. Otherwise, also again, there's a skin showcase, so to speak, coming tomorrow. And yeah, if you're new to the channel, feel free to click the sub button and ring the bell. It really helps me out. DukeSloth out.